Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our final podcast in our first series, Not Just Any Other Story. We're going to be reading the final 2 chapters of The Shopping Cart People, and I'm very privileged today to have family all around me, literally all around me. We're sitting around a big table. So I have Lisa's back, my sister.
Hi.
Welcome back, Lee. And we have Tara, who was in a couple of episodes ago, right, Tara?
Hello again.
My niece, Tara. And we have a few new people joining us. My other nieces, Remy, Jillian, and Stephanie. Welcome, girls. Thanks for being here.
Happy to be here.
Thanks, Tab. Okay, so we're going to be reading chapter 45 and 46, final 2, and I'm going to ask Jillian to read the second last chapter. So, Jillian, anytime you're ready, take it away.
All right, this is chapter 45, The Letter. You should have seen your face, Lucas was saying as we buckled our seatbelts in preparation for takeoff. I don't want to know. I recalled Harry Connick's special version of Billy Joel's Just the Way You Are. He'd even changed some of the verses so that Don't Go Changing became Don't Go Tripping to Try and Please Me. Following my initial reaction of wanting to crawl up into a little ball, I had to appreciate the efforts of our star performer, who'd been told about the lady who'd fallen and split her head open. He'd called me up on stage after the song. I bowed for everyone watching. Following the huge round of applause for being such a good sport, I received a much-deserved hug and kiss. It was extremely nerve-wracking standing there next to Harry Connick Jr. I'd never been that close to anyone famous, except when I'd stood beside Johnny Depp at some fancy chocolate shop in Toronto. I didn't even notice until he'd left the shop, and by then it was too late to wipe the chocolate smudge off of my face, remnants of free samples that I'd been taste testing. As I sat there next to Lucas, taking in the faint fumes of jet fuel, I kept picturing Wes's face. My instincts had proven correct. When all the hoopla was over, I'd returned to the terrace, only to find that he'd left. I'd walked around the hotel to try to find him. Ran, actually, in my bare feet, holding my shoes in my hand. But even as I searched, I somehow knew that he was long gone. When I'd returned to the ballroom, Lucas and some of the others convinced me to stay, even though I was craving some alone time. So much had happened that evening that I needed to collect my thoughts and go over every word that Les had said to me. Sensing my fatigue, Lucas insisted that he escort me back up to my room an hour later, and though I knew he was full of questions, he had the courtesy not to ask any of them. As he said goodnight, he kissed me, this time sweetly and briefly on the lips. He lingered there for a moment, searching my eyes, wondering, I'm sure, what was going on in my head. Then he smiled, ran his finger across the top of my nose, and left to return to the party. When I stepped into the room, there was a white envelope on the floor with Angel written across it. I swiped it up with one hand and sat down on the edge of the bed to read it. I knew it before opening it, that it was from Les. Angel, my angel. I read the first line, and then I folded the sheet of paper back up. What if it was a goodbye letter? I feared the worst. I knew that if I drew it out a little longer, then perhaps by some small miracle, I could figure out a way to accept it. So I began to undress. I hung up the elegant blue gown and carefully placed it into a suit bag, then zipped it up so it would be ready for transit the next day. Then I took down my hair, brushed it out slowly, washed the makeup off my face, and brushed my teeth, all the while glancing back to bed to make sure the letter was still there. When I finally found the courage to open it up a second time, I was tucked under the covers, my heart beating wildly in anticipation. My fingers shook as I clumsily unfolded the sheet of paper. It was written on the hotel stationery in what seemed like a hurried scrawl. It read, Angel, my angel, I couldn't believe how captivating you looked tonight. Your hair, your dress, and those shoes that you could barely walk in were a sight to be seen. I know I said that I had business to attend to while I was here, but the truth of it is that I had to see you. Harry told me that you were always saying that you had 9 lives, and that's why you like cats so much. He was the one who assured me that you'd be just fine. I guess he's used to it. He really is quite incredible. You've done such a wonderful job of raising him. I wanted you to know that. I know it sounds a little morbid and maybe crazy, but I realized that I wouldn't know what I would do if something happened to you. I mean, really happened to you. Time is precious, Angel. I guess we both learned that the hard way. I know I've been very bitter towards you lately. I'm trying to understand why you kept Harry from me. I know I have to because I know I love you. Damn it, I've loved you since the first time we spoke in that animal hospital 15 years ago. You were so sad then, and when you cried over the loss of your cat, it really moved me. You are very beautiful when you cry. Have I ever told you that? When I saw you dancing tonight, I must admit, it was hard to watch. After all, I'd come all the way here to sweep you off your feet. I guess I was a little too late. I couldn't help but notice how happy you looked as you danced and giggled with that man. I thought of leaving, but when I saw you alone outside, I decided I had to talk to you. It took every ounce of my self-restraint not to lean over and kiss you. Maybe I should have. I'm not used to competition like Lucas. He seems like a good guy. It's obvious he adores you and you him. Angel, I want only the best for you, and I don't really know what that is right now. I think only you can make that decision. I know you care for me, but I don't want you ever to feel obligated to be with me or to love me because of Harry. I've been wondering that a lot lately, and now that there seems to be someone else, well, God, this must sound pathetic to you. Please don't try to contact me when you read this. Just give yourself some time to know. Perhaps that's what we all need right now. P.S. I forgot to tell you Harry is staying at your parents' place till you get back, but I guess you probably knew that, didn't you? Love always, your Les. I read and reread the letter over and over again. I cried tears of every kind. Happiness, regret, longing, elation. They were all there. I cried until I finally succumbed to sleep in the early morning hours. When the alarm went off at 7 a.m., I awoke to find myself lying in exactly the same position as the previous night, the letter still in my hand. As the plane took off and headed out of Orlando and away from Les again, I could think of nothing else. I put the letter in the front pocket of my purse for fear of ever losing this piece of him, this piece of his soul. I didn't let go of it for the whole flight. Lucas, knowing that I was troubled, made a couple of attempts to make me laugh. I, in turn, tried to be lighthearted, but it was to no avail. I felt devastated that Les would think that I wanted him only because he was Harry's father. How could he think that? Couldn't he sense the spark between us every time we'd been together? Didn't he see how I responded to him both physically and emotionally? How could he doubt any of it? Yes, he'd been right that I was at ease with Lucas, but I didn't want to be at ease. I wanted to feel passion, the kind you feel when you don't know what to do because you can't wait until the next time you see him. I didn't want comfortable. Hell, that was almost a foreign concept to me. My life had always been hard work, and as for needing time, what did he think the past 2 months had been? A holiday? I had about as much time away from him as I could handle. I loved him. I didn't need any more time. I'd slept for part of the flight. When I opened my eyes, Lucas was staring at me. When I turned to face him, he smiled. I smiled back because, despite the misunderstanding Les had about Lucas and me, I was still glad he was there with me. Tell me about it, sweetheart, he said, as he patted my hand and leaned in as if I happened to be the most important person in the world to him. I told him the long version of our story that had begun 15 years ago with a kitten, a Diet Coke, and something called destiny. Wow, I guess I should have told him I was gay, he said, shaking his head. You're gay? I asked incredulously. Well, no, but if it helps, then be my guest. Our laughter was heard over the buzz of everyone's garble as people glanced over in our direction to see what the commotion was all about. I swore to myself that at that instant that if things didn't work out with Les, then I would ask Lucas to marry me. He was, without a doubt, an absolute prize, and it was almost sinful that he was single. While we were waiting for our baggage to roll in on the carousel, we chatted about the conference and made a promise to go to next year's conference together, both of us hoping that Las Vegas would be the host city. Before saying goodbye, Lucas asked when he was going to see me again. I was just as keen to spend more time with him, but I wondered if I had given him the wrong impression when I promised that I'd call him that week to make plans. And yet I looked forward to it. It was a wonderful feeling to look forward to something. I watched Lucas disappear into a cab after he blew me a kiss from where he was standing. Then I hailed my own, which would head in the opposite direction toward home. When I arrived home almost an hour later, I was greeted by Harry and 2 surprise guests. "Hi, Mom," I heard him calling from his bedroom as I closed the door. He wandered out, a cream-colored kitten with bright blue eyes in his arms. It was a double shock. I'd expected Harry to be at my parents' place, and here he was with his furry little friend to greet me. I could feel all hesitation melt away when he handed the kitten to me. As I held it, it began to purr like the engine of a luxury car. "It's your Christmas present, from me and Les," Harry said, his eyes expectant. "From you and Les?" "Well, actually, it was Les who caught them and kept them at his place." "Caught them? What do you mean, them?" "Oh, there's another one around here somewhere," he smiled excitedly. This really was a surprise, on more than one level. "They were just hanging out in the parking lot at Les's condo, looking kind of starved," Harry said. "So we took them. It took a few tries, though." "What happened to the mother?" I wondered if the gesture was perhaps a little overzealous. "We think the mother might have been killed or something. They were always scrounging for food. We've been taking care of them for weeks at Les's place. He said you needed some pets, and I agreed." He grinned, remembering that he'd argued that same point with me a number of times. "This one is Mocha," he scratched the chin of the kitten I was holding. "We named her that for you, Mom." As I looked down at her relaxed little body, I noticed that the tips of her paws and her tail, and even her face, were a dark brown in stark contrast to the rest of her fur, which was much lighter. Before I could respond, I felt something rub against my leg. I looked down to discover that the other kitten, who was black and white, was just as adorable as the first. "And that one is Zorro," said Harry. "His face looks like he's wearing a mask, like Zorro, so we decided to name him that." You can change their names if you like, but I think they're getting used to these ones already. My heart melted even more at the thought of Les trying to catch the two strays. Suddenly, I recalled the tiny scratch I had noticed above his eye, the one night he'd been over when Zephiah had delivered her baby. I'd seen it quite by accident as he stood by the door saying goodbye. He must have been trying to catch them, for me, to make me happy. Oh, Les, I murmured, feeling a wave of tenderness overtake me. I wanted so much to be able to hold him at that moment. Harry was already chasing the other kitten around and laughing at how cunning it was. Every time he reached down to pick it up, it would slip away and hide under a piece of furniture, only to come out again a few seconds later, circling around him until he tried to catch it again. I watched him, smiling, and before I knew it, I was in on the game. It was a pleasant surprise indeed, this new little family of mine. Later, while Harry and I sipped on hot chocolate in our pajamas on the couch, each of us fondling a kitten, I recounted the details of my trip and my little mishap. He seemed very impressed that Harry Connick Jr. actually sang a song for me. He could barely contain himself at the thought of his mother sliding across a hotel lobby and into Harry Legman. Harry himself also had much to tell. He'd apparently broken up with his girlfriend, though he didn't seem to be very upset about it. Man, she just wouldn't let me hang out with my friends anymore. I'm not ready for that, you know? I wondered how Harry had become so wise and if Les had been giving him advice. She seemed like a very sweet girl, though, Harry, I said, recalling how concerned she had been when Harry was in the hospital. She is, he agreed, but we're only 14. We're still friends, but we need to spend time with our other friends, too. Besides, if we were meant to be together, then we will be, later on. I almost choked on my hot chocolate. How many times had I said those very words to myself about Les and me? I wondered if Harry was conscious of the double meaning in his words. Harry stretched out and continued with the details of his visits with Les's family. All in all, it seemed to have gone quite smoothly. Harry was far from shy, and being put into a situation where he was the center of attention wouldn't have undone him in any way. The fact that he was meeting his father's family, aunts, uncles, and his grandmother, for the first time was definitely a little intense, as Harry had put it, but he seemed to have handled himself quite well, judging from his recount. As I listened to him describe Les's sister and her fiancé and his new grandmother, it occurred to me that he'd never know Les's father. I thought about how Les had said that if he didn't know if he'd ever get over the time lost with Harry. His father's death before he ever had the chance to meet Harry was the double-edged sword that had cut him so deeply. Pondering this, even I didn't understand how Les could still love me. As if he'd read my mind, Harry suddenly said, "I know Les has been pretty mad at you, Mom." I just stared at him, lost for words. What could I say? I couldn't deny it. That would be an insult, even to a 14-year-old. Deep down, I sensed that Harry knew all along why the two of us had barely spoken over the last 2 months. And yet, he'd not questioned me about it. He hadn't said a word. He'd waited patiently for things to fall into place. And as it seemed to be the case, he was still waiting. I stared at him, thinking about how perceptive and wise he was for his age. And as I continued to stare, the pride almost overflowing from me, I realized that this part of Harry, this practical, sensible, patient side of him, was all Les. And wasn't this exactly what Les was doing by asking me to take time and know what I wanted? This was his way of making sure that once a decision was made, it would be made with absolute certainty. This was his way of waiting for things to fall into place. So if he wanted me to wait, then I would. Heck, I already waited 15 years. What was a few more weeks or a few more months? I would give him that, if that's what would convince him that I loved him. I would let time pass if it meant that we could be together in the end. Perhaps he was right. I shouldn't see him, especially now. Especially after that letter, now that I knew he loved me despite how much I'd hurt him. I loved him even more now, and if I saw him or stood close to him, I wouldn't be able to hold back. I could wait, so long as he doesn't get too close, so long as I didn't have to look into his lovely green eyes. God help me if he got too close.
Okay, so I have a question for you girls, you young women. What did you think of the letter?
Can I be really bluntly honest?
Yes.
I've had better.
Oh my goodness. Really?
Yeah.
Wow, you're my hero. That's awesome, Tara.
Yeah. I've had some I had an eloquent ex, and my current boyfriend he has a way with words.
Yeah.
So
That's amazing.
it was
And all the other ladies are going, really? Oh. There's something to aspire to, right?
I thought that no man would ever write that.
Yeah. Well,
That's
we've
what I was
just
thinking,
proven it
yeah.
wrong. That's why I wanted to ask you what you thought, because I think some men can write like that. I think
Yeah.
they can really be expressive. And I think some men can.
Yeah. Just don't have it in there.
don't have it in them.
Yeah.
I feel similarly to Tara because my current boyfriend writes me letters all the time. We're long distance right now, and he
Right.
mailed them over the summer.
Oh, maybe
really?
that's lucky.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, there's a trend. You're
Maybe
both in
being
long,
long
distance.
distance.
Yeah.
So I just need to go away for a month. And then I'll get a
Or
letter.
a few months.
Yeah.
Distance makes the heart grow fonder.
Yeah, exactly. So
Well,
We don't get that passion when you're day to day living in the house and
Yeah.
picking up their laundry.
And married. So Stephanie is newly married to my nephew. So she's living day to day. And so are you, Remy. You're living day to day with your partner. So, but you know what? I don't know. Don't you think they miss you during the day? When they don't see you or when they're not? No, they're running face. They're thinking about it.
You
They're
hope,
thinking-
Yeah,
right?
we'd like to think
I hope.
Yeah.
Well, I bet you, because we're all here up at the cottage, I bet you when you get back or when they
There'll
see
be a
you
letter
again,
on the doorstep.
there'll be a letter for sure.
I'll text them both and give them the heads up.
Yeah.
You have 4 hours to write a letter. Go now.
Someone call them. Give them a heads up.
Technically, my letter came in the form of a message.
Oh,
Like a text
Yeah,
message?
like,
doesn't
yeah.
matter.
Jillian's boyfriend actually wrote a letter. Mine sent me a Facebook message.
Oh. But it doesn't matter. Well, so it wasn't in print.
It was
you
in
didn't,
print.
So you could read it.
Yeah, it was on my
Okay,
phone.
there you go. I want to read something like that.
Okay.
Am I too old?
No. Never.
My sister, Lisa. She's nodding her head. Yes, you are.
Yes, you are. Wouldn't our husbands ever think of that?
Yeah, no.
Ever.
Yeah, no.
No.
No, definitely. You would have to be in my dreams, probably. My fantasies. Yeah. So what did you,
Is she really interested in this other person?
I know, not in that way. I think she was just, are you talking about when she said, I would definitely ask him to marry me? Is that what you're talking about?
No, the Lucas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what she said. Like,
Yeah.
but no, I think she was saying that because he's just perfect.
Just so nice.
But she doesn't have that. I don't think she has that, obviously. Spark. Thank you.
I think actually that she did until Les showed up.
Yeah, that might have progressed. Yeah.
Yeah.
It reminded her of why she was with him.
Yes.
Like everything
Oh.
was not complicated with Lucas. She could spend all this time with him, and she got into this big embarrassing thing, and he supported her and he helped her, and on paper it was all perfect. So she was away from that one relationship that was causing her the problems. But the reason it was causing her the problems is because of the passion and because of
Yes.
the spark between the two of them and the fact that they
Right.
both loved each other so much that
Yeah.
it was creating.
Well, what did they say?
That
There's
makes sense.
a really good saying, and I saw it somewhere on some social media thing. You know how they have these quotes? And it was, you only love is the same as how, okay, just let me reword this. The degree of love that you have is the same degree of pain that you have,
Mm.
basically.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't sound very romantic,
No,
right?
it doesn't. But you know, like love hurts. What's that song?
Yeah.
Love hurts, right?
Yeah.
It really
Something
does.
is passionate
Yes.
and you care enough. That's when problems
Of
can
course.
arise because you
Yeah.
care enough for there to be problems.
Well, and then when
course.
something goes wrong, if it doesn't hurt you, then I
Did
mean,
you
how
really
much
care?
did you really care?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
This might just be another love quote, but have you heard like the opposite of love isn't hate, it's indifference? Because hate
Yeah.
is still like a
Still
strong
is.
emotion.
Yeah.
There's passion
There's
behind
still
that.
feelings there.
I
Mhm.
When
absolutely
you
agree
truly
with
have
you.
no feelings anymore, you
You're
are
just-
indifferent.
yeah.
You don't care what they're doing.
Apathetic.
anymore.
And as an aside, Love Hurts, the song,
Yeah.
is
That
the
was
very
just a
first
love
song I
quote.
danced to with my husband on our very first day.
Really?
Yeah. You know the old rock song? Love hurts. You know that one?
What's the next line?
I don't know.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, that's pathetic.
It was a rock
Wow.
song.
Yeah,
It was a ballad.
Yeah.
And I didn't like rock music, but my husband loved rock music, and that was the very first song we danced to. Like,
Oh.
great. Who knew? To be the rest of my life, Love Hurts. And That's it.
You know what? When he comes, he's coming up today.
Yeah, he's coming.
So we're going to show him the letter.
Oh, no.
Oh, there you
Yeah.
go.
Ooh, we could get them to write their letter on the
Yeah.
dock.
Do a little writing exercise, homework at the
Yeah.
cottage.
I don't think you want them to.
He just disappointed in the results.
Yeah. I think it would be like, hey, really love ya. That'd be the end of
If
that.
dad's birthday cards are anything to go by to mom,
Yeah.
he never gets her the sappy card. He always gets her like the funny one. This year it was something about like, oh, have you been hurt by someone calling you old? Contact this fake lawyer.
I'm going to have to speak to him about that. All right. Well, thanks for your commentary, girls. We're going to move on to the next chapter. Stephanie's going to read this one. Right, Steph?
Right.
All right. So here we go.
Chapter 46, The Snowstorm. January was by far my least favorite month of the year. Not only did I dread the weather it brought with it, but the first few weeks after Christmas always felt like the downward spiral following a sugar rush. The only recompense for the short, gray days that seemed to get colder and colder was the end of the season sales. It was precisely at this time of year 5 years ago that Moira and I had started a tradition that we referred to as GBDO, or Girls Boxing Day Out. It didn't necessarily have to be on Boxing Day or during Boxing Week, just sometime after the Christmas holidays when the crowds died down and the stores endeavored to clear their spaces of winter stock with incredible clearance sales. My sisters usually joined us, though this year we'd be one person short, Tilly still being in Italy. To take her place, Bev had asked her friend Anna to come along. Anna reminded us a lot of Tilly, mostly because she said whatever was on her mind and she swore a lot. We would start with breakfast at one of the local diners that served bacon and eggs accompanied by the necessary cholesterol-filled trimmings, all for under $6. Then we'd head over to the spa for our pre-arranged pedicures, manicures, or massages. After pampering ourselves, it would be straight to one of the outlet malls in search of the best deals, not because we actually needed stuff, but because of the percentage off the last ticketed price that had already been reduced once or twice already. These were the most exciting finds, and we relished in our success at being able to hone in on such bargains. We wouldn't stop for lunch, only a coffee break. And then after hours of turning over every item with a sales sticker on it, trying on clothes, and asking each other for opinions before making final purchases, we'd call it a day. It was all very therapeutic. I particularly enjoyed the after-shopping party where one of us would take turns hosting the dinner, which was usually Chinese takeout. Once we'd replenished ourselves, it would be time to spread out, model, and admire our own and each other's things. By bedtime, I would be completely annihilated, only to wake up the next morning to find myself suffering from fierce indigestion and post-shopping remorse. I had a feeling that this year's spree would be groundbreaking if the theory about stress levels matching spending was correct. The number of participants in GBDO also exceeded the previous years as we added Mel to our new members list. I was at work making the spa appointments between patients, and Mel had barely been able to curb her curiosity as she lingered in the front office, eavesdropping. "What's going on? It sounds like you're planning a big day," she asked as I hung up the phone and scribbled some times and names in my day planner. "Oh, it's Girls Boxing Day Out next week," I explained. "Girls what?" "Just this day we plan. Moira and my sisters, we all go out for a day and shop and pamper ourselves. Like a girls' day out, but even better." "Oh, yeah?" Mel's tone begged for an invitation. "Yeah," I said, smiling. "Want to come?" Yeah," she answered, as if I were an idiot for thinking I even needed to ask. "Okay, but I need to warn you. We get some serious shopping done, and you can't come if you're going to pay full price for anything." "Are you serious?" "Totally serious. That's the whole point. That's why we call it Girls Boxing Day Out." "But Boxing Day is over," she said, scrunching up her nose and squinting her eyes in confusion. "Right, but we still look for the deals. Get it?" "Fine, I think I can handle it." Good. It was all arranged. It would be a very busy day indeed now that we had our fifth and last member. As Mel bustled off down the hallway, a satisfied smile on her face, I couldn't help but think to myself that if our group expanded any further, we would need to rent a minivan. When our big day finally arrived a week later, we were all at witter with excitement. The prattling and giggling in the car as we headed toward our first stop was enough to make any man want to jump out of the window, which is why we had a strict rule that no men, under any circumstances, were allowed. It was refreshing to be out and not preoccupied with work or less, and I'd promised myself that I would try to make this a day of healing for myself. A light snow had begun to litter the sky with soft, white crystals when we left the diner after a filling breakfast and way too many cups of coffee. I was thankful we weren't driving my old Honda, which still didn't have snow tires on it. After almost 2.5 hours at the spa, we headed to the new outlet mall that was north of the city. It was just getting on to 12 o'clock when the snow began to fall heavily, covering the roads with a thin, white coating that looked like icing sugar on a chocolate cake. It was quite beautiful to look at. We all felt a sense of wonder as we gaped through the windows at the winter wonderland being formed before our very eyes. Ev laughed as she put the defogger on full blast. "Would you stop breathing on the windows? I can't see anything." When we finally arrived, the wind had picked up and the snow began to blow down with a foreboding force so that we had to cover our faces and our heads with our scarves. "I think we're actually in for that storm they were talking about on the radio yesterday," I could hear Bev saying as she pulled her scarf up around her face. "What storm?" I asked. I hadn't heard about a storm, but then I hadn't watched TV or turned on the radio for days. "The storm that was supposed to bypass us," replied Moira. "You're kidding," Mel yelled over the howling wind. It seemed I wasn't the only person who was completely oblivious to the weather forecast. "No, I'm not kidding," Moira shouted over the wind, "but it was supposed to hit east of Toronto. Maybe this is just the remnants of the real storm." "Oh shit," Anna whined. "Well, it better be," Mel warned. "This is my first GBDO. I don't want it to be ruined by a silly storm." We all chuckled and headed into the huge mall that would hold us hostage for the next few hours. And a few hours was just enough for the real storm, not the remnants of one, to move in and envelope everything in a thick, white blanket of snow. It was piled high on all the cars, and the parking spaces were now just guesswork. By the time we reached Bev's van, we were soaked, since our hands were busy carrying bags instead of covering our faces from the icy pellets that whipped across the open parking lot. Bev fired up the engine and turned up the radio. The news was all about the impending storm. As we listened to warnings about whiteouts and bad road conditions, the mood in the car became a little less jovial. Cars were skidding across the slick pavement around us, and there were shopping carts scattered here and there. We watched with startled eyes as one fell over on its side from the force of the wind and got stuck in a pile of snow right in front of us. We were just pulling out and quickly realized that it would have to be moved in order for us to be on our way. Bev put the car in park, and we all looked at each other, wondering who would be the one to go out and move the cart. All eyes were on me. Of course it would have to be me. I was, after all, the one who complained the most about shopping carts and the shopping cart people. Nobody spoke, so I finally caved in, breathing a sigh of exasperation. "Fine, I'm going." That elicited a few giggles from my fellow passengers. "Wait a second," Mel cried. "That guy's moving it for us." We all peered through the windows. There was a man just in front of us who'd given Bev the signal to stop while he tried to remove the cart from our path. He was wearing a long black coat and had a red scarf wrapped almost entirely around his head. "Look at this poor guy," Moira observed. "He needs a parka or something." "He doesn't even have any gloves on. He must be freezing," Bev cried in disbelief. "This guy is perfect for you, Angel," she said, turning towards me in the back seat, smiling. "He actually picks up shopping carts even in a snowstorm." I was practically sitting on Mel's lap, trying to see through the window from the middle seat in the back. Then it took all of 10 seconds to climb over her and out of the car. I almost fell as I made my way across to him, my heart beating frantically and my stomach churning. When I reached him, I pulled the scarf down to see his face, knowing, even before I did so, that it was him. I stood just inches away from him, and we stared into each other's eyes as bands of white whirled around us. My hair and face were saturated, and even as the freezing snow beat against my skin, I could feel my blood racing through my veins. Les raised his hand and pulled back a thick strand of hair that was stuck to my cheek. My hand instinctively went up to touch his. Even through my glove, his hand felt like ice, so I wrapped my fingers around it. He smiled. I glanced over at the shopping cart, which had fallen over again just beside us. Our gazes met his, and his smile Our gazes met, and his smile instantly turned to a grin. Then he began to laugh softly and slowly. Gradually, what had started off as a chuckle of coincidences, short and throaty, had become long and drawn out with a depth and heartiness that went far beyond the amusement of the situation. It was infectious. I began to laugh as well. And then, as if somebody had taken away all reserve, I couldn't stop myself. I closed my eyes, and in an instant his lips were on mine. They felt warm despite the storm that raged around us. I felt my other hand come up to his. When he pulled me closer, I suddenly felt as if my feet were being lifted off the ground. Perhaps they were. He was holding me so tightly. I couldn't tell. His kiss became more demanding, as if he were making some sort of claim on me, a claim that I belonged only to him. God, Angel, he said in a low, hoarse whisper, I do love you. I leaned my head in and rested it against his chest. Forgive me, Les. Please forgive me. My voice was shaky and sounded almost desperate. Just tell me that you love me, he said softly, his lips touching my ear as he spoke. I love you, you know I do, I murmured softly as I pressed harder against his chest. We stood there together for just a moment, and then he pulled away. He looked into my eyes with longing and began to shower me with soft, gentle kisses all over my wet cheeks, my nose, my lips. Then, still holding my face in his frozen hands, he stopped to look at me once again. He was grinning now, and I knew I was too. Drunk and giddy from the kisses and the words that had taken my breath away, we both began to laugh. We didn't say anything to each other. We didn't have to. And though all around us the wind pushed down with all its might, and the snow pelted against us, and tires squealed, and voices called out my name, it was all drowned out by the sound of our own joy. It was all I could hear or feel, as if we were both caught in some kind of time warp where everything and everyone around us stood still. Everything was silent, but for the very distinct sound of our laughter and panting as we fought to take in a breath between each bout of uncontrollable glee. It was sheer music from the heart, and I was completely swallowed up in it. When I closed my eyes, this time just to listen to the wonderful sound of his laughter, I knew that it was, by all accounts, the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard.
The end.
Yay! Why did you have to remind us of snow? Here, first of all, in this beautiful summer day, looking at the lake.
It's not my fault. It's part of the story.
Girls' Boxing Day out.
That's right.
Yeah.
We
All the
near
snow
Boxing
going,
Day.
oh no.
I know. Sorry for the reminder that's what's coming in like 6 months. But anyway.
January is my favorite month. It's my birthday month.
Yes, it is, Remy. So everybody's just kind of sitting here. I'm wondering what you thought about the end.
It was good.
I knew it was going to be Les right away.
Yeah,
Right away from where?
Right away from when they said that a man
was out there.
was out
Oh,
there
did
and
he
was gonna
really?
put the shopping cart
yeah.
away.
Yeah, me too.
It has
I wondered how
It was-
long the reader would think.
There was a lot of good foreshadowing about that.
Yeah.
So I think that's why we all picked up on it.
Yeah. So I wanted to end. So the shopping carts comes out through the whole book, right? This just in little snippets of things, right? And it gives you an insight into how she thinks in terms of like people have to be responsible and be considerate and whatever. And so I just really wanted to tie in like that theme, you know, like in a funny way, obviously, right at the end. So that's why I was wondering what you all thought about that.
Yeah.
I think spending any amount of time in a blizzard is not something that I would do.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would have been in the car looking at someone else to be like, okay, who's going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I probably would have gone. Thanks, Rev.
Remy would have gone. What did you think of Girls Boxing Day Out? Does that sound familiar to anybody?
The sales reminded me of Grandma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I got it from because grandma used to, well, my mother, your grandma, used to be just remember that she used to come home and show us all the bargains she used to get and look at this was 50% off and another additional 25% off.
You would just have to verify by showing you the tag.
Yeah, you had to see the
You had
tag.
to see the
right?
tag because it was just so beautiful.
Yeah. But you know what? I do
Amazing.
that and do that to your sons or your husband, right? You
don't
guys you at least have girls.
They don't care.
They don't. They're just like, yeah, whatever. Okay, I really don't care, right? But like girls must be more excited.
Well, it's like that story about my dad. So my dad is Anita and Lisa's brother, and he always tells this funny story about my grandmother who came home from shopping and she was showing him all these things and getting all excited and, oh, look at these bargains. And he looked at her and he goes, Mom, I think you should have had another daughter. Because he just literally did not care.
No.
We must have been out of the house by then.
Yeah, you guys were gone. I think they were on a trip or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, same thing. They don't appreciate it as much because to them they can wear the same T-shirt 5 days in a row and it's the same.
Right.
They don't care.
But I feel that they should appreciate, especially if you're cheap, which is in my situation, my husband's very cheap. And so you would think he would appreciate the fact that I was saving money.
You know what? All he hears is that you're spending it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, right.
You know what my husband's saying is now?
What?
Oh no, you're going out with your sister or Rose? Oh no. But then he would make sure he says that one little sentence when I walk in the door. How much money did you save me? And that's a saying now.
Yeah.
Not how much money did you spend? How much money did you save me? Because he knows I'm going to say, I got this on sale and I got this on sale. Look how cheap this was.
Yeah.
So he doesn't even.
I used to love I love shopping, and I think my mother is the result of the cause of that. Sorry, because I used to love going when we were younger down to the Eaton Center and down to Toronto and Spadina Avenue and all these shops and all these like really unique shops, and I loved those outings.
She would always
love them.
She would bring all of us anytime she was babysitting us. That was the shopping day with Grandma.
Yeah.
Every sleepover, we came back with, 5 extra days worth of clothes.
I feel like it's changed now though, because she used to really bargain shop, and you don't see that as much anymore. That's why I love going thrifting now.
Yeah.
It's kind of like almost like the equivalent of it. It's
Bargain
like
shopping,
instead of going to all the stores where they never have, it's like they have a sale. It's like 10% off. Okay, well you took 50 cents off.
Or it's so expensive to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. So thrifting is like a good alternative to that because everything is already marked down. So then sometimes they have sales and then you can buy things for $3. And it's still great quality.
And they're practically new.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
some of the things you can find at some of those places. Yeah,
Exactly.
really neat. Yeah.
Yeah, so that part's fun too. And doing that with friends is always fun.
Yeah.
It's even nice to just have someone to bounce it off of, right? Like even going out and being like, oh, what do you think of this? No. No. Put it back.
Do that. Yeah.
Put it back, right?
Yeah.
Like
Put it back.
Shopping is not a solo activity.
No. Because then what? You want that reaction
social
once
day.
you bought it and you wear it out? No, I'd rather have that in the store before I spend my money on it. So no, don't buy that.
Yeah.
That's a solo thing for me. I online shop all the time now. With COVID, I
Online.
had to. And then it brought me joy.
Yeah.
The therapeutic side of it during COVID.
Well, that's the thing. I think we kind of got a little bit. It changed the way we think about shopping. I mean, we had to shop online.
Yeah.
Right. And so the convenience of it now, while we're at home and sitting around and we're like, oh, maybe I'll look and see what's online. Right. It's so easy. Right. You don't have to get in your car, especially in the wintertime.
In a snowstorm.
Snowstorm. Right.
Yeah.
Well, this book was written obviously much before COVID. So, and much before online shopping was a huge thing. So, that it does sort of reveal its time period. Right?
Yeah. A couple of things do that. And you can kind of, like, no one would turn their cell phone off as much as Angel does nowadays. But that and, the girls' day out for Boxing Day, like especially Boxing Day and Black Friday and all of those big sale days, everyone knows that every store is going to be just bonkers. So I exclusively shop online on those days because I don't want to go out in the craziness and deal with all of those people.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what though? I still think nothing beats going shopping with friends. I think like in person, making a day of it is the whole thing. Like how they went for breakfast, they had their coffees, and they were like, okay, we're ready to go now.
Well, we still do that.
It needs a certain amount of energy,
still do
though.
that, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's tiring.
Yeah, it is.
What do you think, Stephanie?
Do you have shopping days like that?
Yeah, with your mom.
Online.
With your mom?
Well, as you're talking about going down to the Eaton Center, and I'm thinking, okay, that's $30 in parking to get there, Toronto traffic. So it's not. It's
We
maybe
don't
not
have
how I would
time
spend my day.
Yeah.
A whole thing.
But I would do
gas.
online shopping.
Yeah. Even if you don't buy anything, you've already spent over $100 just freaking getting there and back.
Right.
Yeah.
And there's no time.
Yeah.
Their time. That's a whole day off.
Yeah, it is.
But I do think it's a nice tradition that they have. Like my friends and I from high school, we have brunch around Christmas every year. And it might be the only time I see some of those friends at Christmas
Once a year,
brunch.
yeah.
It's become a nice tradition.
We've been doing it for over 12 years, I think.
Yeah.
But
And
so
we-
I think it's nice they have that
And
tradition.
we have our girls' weekend now that's become a tradition. I have another thing with like all of these people from the same school that I was at, like that all had different roles. There's 10 of us, and we every year meet here for 3 days, and that's become a huge tradition. Now people are like starting to have babies and all sorts of things, even brought their babies. So right, like it's nice to have those traditions. You have a tradition too with your Christmas gal.
Yeah, Christmas gal.
That I'm now a part of the group.
And Anita joined the group because she did grow up with us, and she was all part of our shenanigans.
Yeah.
And we get together twice a year for everybody's special birthdays and retirements, and we're called Christmas gals because we always have a beautiful dinner and get together at Christmas where we pass on a scarf for the next person to host. And and it's such a wonderful thing to look forward to. So much fun.
And some of these traditions you don't sometimes start until you're older. Because when you're your age too, you're busy. You're busy. You're building yourself up in your careers. You're finishing school. You're having babies. You're buying houses. You're doing all of these things, and you are busy. Right. So you don't really have like organized, you like groups, right? And then as you sort of get more settled, you get older, and your kids start to grow up if you have kids, and then you start to sort of, I feel like when you're older, you almost find your best niche of friends too. The people that you have most things in common with, because people do go like you are all quite young. So
like I always say, life gets in the way. Right?
And sometimes you don't, what's that Justin Bieber song?
Oh, here we go.
Some people come in your life for a season or a reason, and some people come in your life for a season. And it doesn't mean that you had a bad ending to a friendship, but they came in your life for a season. And I have many friends throughout my life where that's been the case. We were really close, and then somehow we just kind of drifted apart, you know?
Sometimes that friend is what you need in that time in your life, and then you can outgrow each other, or you have different experiences that change your path.
Right.
I had one friend like that. We were friends since the time we were almost born, basically. And once we hit post high school, different schools, we just haven't spoken since, but nothing happened. It was just we outgrew each other. We were looking for different things in different friends.
Yes.
And no hard feelings, but I don't need that friend as part of my support system anymore. And that's not a bad thing.
No, and younger people too have you start your careers, you go off in different directions, and you don't lose your high school friends, but you create so many new groups of friends because of coworkers and such.
Coworkers is another thing.
People you have things aligned with, like if both of you have kids, and your other old friends don't have kids yet, or whatever it is, right? I had recent falling outs with a couple of work friends, and it truly, I'm friends with everyone. It's very hard for me to let go of friendships, and I'm just, as I'm getting older, I'm almost 30, and I'm just realizing, it's more about quality than quantity. It's really, really learning
Remy,
that not everybody
hit it on the nail. They hit the nail on the head.
Aligning with me and how I think. And it's just crazy that when you're younger, that doesn't really matter as much for some reason. Then suddenly, it really does truly matter that people align with how you think, what you value, the way you do things, what you want to do.
You get comfortable when you've known someone for a long time. You get comfortable around them, and you know them, and they know you, and that's how it is. And sometimes it's hard to let go because you've known them for so long.
But
that doesn't
think of good times.
You think of good times, but that doesn't mean that it will continue to benefit.
Well, when you're young, it's all about fun too. And then that's called growing up.
Right? That's right. You don't have time anymore. For the people that don't align with you. You're I'm too busy. I can't put the effort into something that won't put the effort into me.
It's an investment for sure. Your time and your energy and your friendship
It's huge.
in people
is a massive investment in your life, and if it's not going to be something that gives you something that you need in return,
Yeah, because sometimes in
you
a
start to
friendship,
realize
you can be the one that's giving,
Always,
giving,
yeah.
giving, and I'm not just talking about like giving like things. I'm talking
No,
about
effort.
you're always there for them. You always have to be this almost this support, and sometimes that is draining.
Oh yeah.
You know, you have sometimes those friends that they just need your support for all the things they're going, and they're always going through something.
And yet they're
Right?
never there when you are. That's the difference.
Yeah. That's
Or
definitely-
some people are not good with, they're good with supporting the negative things of someone, but then they can't handle it when they don't need
Celebrate
you.
successes.
Yeah, they don't need you for those bad things anymore. Everything starts being good, and then it's like, oh, but you always needed me for the negative things, and they don't know how to switch over to that kind of friend to celebrate you, be there for you in that way. So I've had that happen as well.
Yeah.
Interesting, but the ending of that book was that's what needed to happen. That was a very good tie-in to everything else. And even the fact that she said I was gonna be the one to go and do that, and then it was him. So she said it. She was gonna do it anyway, and because she kind of had to, based on how she had complained about it.
Knowing how she felt.
And everyone else knew those morals about her as well. And then
Had to put her money where her mouth was.
Yeah, certainly did, and then it paid off.
Yeah, exactly,
then it
right?
ends up being him.
Yeah. Do you? So it
Did
is.
she know in the car?
She has an inkling. She probably. It doesn't say that she recognizes something,
exactly.
or does she just hope it is?
Yeah.
Right, but there's something about it that makes her think
her get out
she
of
would,
the car.
Like she was going to
Drawing
get out of the
her.
car anyway, but then when he came, then she didn't have to. But she was trying to see over her friend and look and see it, and there was something that compelled
Drawing
her.
her out.
And that's not explained, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I left it that way
Yeah.
purposefully. I just thought it doesn't need to be explained.
Yeah.
Because she talks about destiny throughout the book, actually. And it's destiny, fate. I love the concept of that. We talk about that a lot. But so did you like this love story?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I definitely wanted to just shake some people and be like, can you just use your common sense? But of course, there would be no conflict and therefore no plot. If everyone made all of the best decisions all the time, and that would be really unrealistic.
And clearly communicated everything that they felt. There would be no need for letters.
No, there wouldn't. There would be no need for
not life.
no.
Yeah.
It's not realistic.
Real life. It's not happens.
But
No
when
one
you
communicates,
when you
that
see it
well.
so clearly, it's like,
But do you think that I think like aspects of that obviously were, made to be a love story, right? But I do think there were many aspects of how she was that were very realistic. I think we are so flawed in that way when it comes to communication. Right? So
and even that
And
guilt she felt, like that
guilt
that
can really
guilt can eat you away, and you are you're your hardest critic most of the time when you are that age, and,
Well, and
especially as a single mother.
that aspect of just time getting away from you, that is everyone everywhere all the time. That I was busy with a newborn, and then I was trying to go to vet school, and then it was like 7 years later, and what was I going to do? Just reach out then? No. And then it's now he's back in my life, and I don't want to tell him on our first date, and then I don't want to tell him on our second date, and then when do I tell him? And then all of a sudden it's been way too long, and you're like, shit, I should have told him a really long time ago.
What were you gonna say?
I was going to say too, I think it's hard for people to be vulnerable. And so when you're reading about their love story and stuff, like you want to shake that person and just say, like, just tell him that you love him. Like, tell him that you're sorry and that you love him, and everything in your mind should just be okay. But life doesn't really work like that. And there's other feelings involved, but that's what I was thinking about his letter too. Like, he's very vulnerable and self-aware, and
He's perfect, really, isn't he?
and also to have two people who are just so aware and then vulnerable.
At the same time.
It's pretty rare.
I think those those loves, those passionate loves, I don't know that they happen as often as people think.
Mm-hmm. Like a notebook
Where
romance.
the notebook
Yeah.
kind of, that type of passion, right? And it's complicated and it's not perfect, but like that's a perfect analogy is the notebook because they fight.
Oh yeah.
And he says that at one point in that movie, he says, I'm not going to always tell you what you want to hear. Something like that. I can't remember the exact line, but he challenges her.
Yes.
You know, and
Which is important.
yes, it is. But,
Yeah, I thought it was a nice way to end it.
thank you, Stephanie. I agree. Yeah. Well, I really want to thank all of you for being the part of the finale and for committing to do this last podcast with me because I really thought it would be great to end with family. And because it really is, this book is really about a lot of it is based in family relationships. Yes, it's a romance, but the family is at the core of who she is, how she acts, you know, I mean, even the plot, right? So,
Well, and it's not even
nice
just
to
like
have you.
there's really, really strong familial relationships. And then I also really like that it's contrasted with really strong found family relationships.
thank you.
It's not just all about who you land with by accident. It's also about who you find and pick.
Yes, who become part of your family. And we have, I think all of us have in our lives. I can think of a couple of people who I consider, the friends that I consider family.
Well,
Right?
in my position too, like I'm an only child, and people always say, "Oh, do you wish you had siblings and all that?" And I say, honestly, part of it is a blessing. I get to choose who I consider to be part of my family, choose who I feel are my
You can't
sisters.
choose your family. In some cases, that's not a great thing.
No, and in some cases, it's actually a burden in your life having to deal with a family member that just causes you stress. So I actually think part of that is a blessing that I get to pick and choose, and I'm thankful that I have cousins and family who treat me as a sibling almost, like a younger
and
sibling,
who you like,
and who I actually
nice
like
to
being
like
with.
your family.
Exactly,
you know?
right? So
Not everybody gets that.
No, it's true.
And so even with like her girls trip too, like some of them, sometimes her sisters come, but it's also friends, right?
Yeah.
So getting to choose who gets to be part of your circle is very much a blessing because then you can pick who benefits your life and who brings the joy to it that you're missing in other parts. So
Right. Well said. I just want the listeners to observe. Don't I have such smart, intelligent, insightful nieces? I just love it. I mean, you're okay, but my nieces are just amazing, and that's why we love spending time together.
Thanks,
And I thank you for spending time with us old gals, too. Well, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed the book, everybody. And please remember to rate and review the podcast. We want to make sure that it gets more accessible to other listeners that are searching for a really good romance story or fiction. And please tune in because we'll be doing a second series, and that'll be a short story series. So I hope you continue to listen, and thank you so much and for your feedback so far. And have a great, great day. Thanks, everybody.